I'm about to get a car. All I have to do is pay off the remaining balance, so I withdraw from school and get 2 jobs, even worked at a club when I wasn't of age. So, imagine my shock when I go to get this car and my own father tells me this. I woke up in the early hours of the morning to start getting dressed for school. I wasn't in the best mood, but there's no escape room for me. I had to wake up early, prepare for school, and report to Walmart after school to work for some hours. This has been my reality for more than a year now. I was 16 when I started working at Walmart, and my parents were against this, but I had a really good grade at school. So I assured them nothing was going to tamper with my grades. They said they'll only allow me to work for a couple of months, and if my grades and performance at school should reduce, they'll also make sure I stopped working. I was really determined to work and also go to school. I really wanted to make some extra cash and also make good grades at school at the same time. I was giving a few months to work, and now I've been working at Walmart for over a year. I'm 17 now, and I must really pat myself on the back because I've done well enough to gain my parents' trust. My name's Tessa, I'm 17, and I'm a high schooler. To know Tessa is to be known as a very determined girl. I'm feisty, and right from when I was young, I don't back down until I get what I want. My parents and friends know better others than arguing with me. Aside from working at Walmart, I make some really cool money online too. I'm a freelance content creator. I major in graphics designing, which I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to be a graphic designer, and I became really good at it. I'm all about encouraging myself to do more, and I pay attention to myself. I don't want to be like my mother. Don't get me wrong. My mother's an amazing woman, but she doesn't want me to turn out like her either. She's a hypersensitive woman, and she's been like that for the past 5 years. This condition has somewhat made her become a burden to the family, but we're all doing our best to take care of her and make her see the next day. One disheartening news, and she's gone. So, we do try to make her happy. She's one of my motivations to get better and get ahead in life. I want to be successful enough to take care of my mother. On the other hand, my dad served in the military. Since I knew him as my dad, he was either going here or going there. He was never really with us. The times he's had come home to us, he's came back with wounds, injuries, even bullet holes for us to nurse. This was a large for the family to handle. Since Mother became hypertensive, we've tried to talk to my dad to get out of the military. We needed him to be home with us and take responsibility of his wife. My dad was always telling us to give him some time, and he said he'll be discharged soon, and we should just allow him to retire honorably. Well, I wasn't allowed alone any time that he goes into his military quest. I was always left alone with my mother and my stepbrother, who was way other than I was. Jordan was 22, and he looks older than his age. He bullies me with all of this, and I try my best to just avoid him. Jordan and I ought to be best brother and sister that she wouldn't know he was my stepbrother. Reverse was the case because Jordan never allows a moment pass without him insulting me. He also played a huge role in me settling for a job at an early age. In fact, I planned to move out of the house and also take my mother with me as soon as I could gather enough money. Jordan would say my own mother thought I've seen a good man when in fact his dad is a demon. He said he would have wished for me to suffer the same fate his mother suffered, but he could see my mom suffering already and that was enough for him. Why has he decided to be this vile? I only knew Jordan's mother was dead. I didn't know anything else about it, and if there was one thing I was sure of was the fact that my mother never knew Jordan's father, also my father from Adam. She wasn't dating him when he was still married to his late wife, so there was totally no need to be vile and condescending towards my mother. Well, I learned to develop an extremely thick skin to Jordan's talks. He appears to talk too much and unnecessarily for a 22-year-old male. I grew up quickly, and I always excused his excesses. My mother could not do much work because of her condition, so we relied on my father to send us money back, and we rely on the not-so-little money I made from my jobs. Jordan was working too, and he would only drop money when he needs to buy drugs for my mother. He was petty like that. He only had to wait till we need to get her medication, and you would think that was the only thing to do to make him happy, The way he drops money from my mother's medication is intriguing. Well, I need to not complain as long as my mother does get her medicine. There are times my father would call us and tell us he doesn't have anything on him at the moment, and we should just sort ourselves out. I don't look forward to days like that because it was always tough for me and my mom. I would work extra hours to get paid. I would lose sleep because I needed money to take care of my mother. Her hypertension was severe, so I had to be extremely careful around her. My mother came home days ago and he broke the news to us that he would be retiring soon since old age was setting in already. That was the happiest news I've gotten in a while. Finally, this 56-year-old man that thinks he was 30 would be retiring and coming back to us. I was so happy with the information. He was going to retire towards the same time I would have my 18th birthday. This seemed like the perfect birthday gift to me. My father would be retiring from the army and he would have time to take care of my mother amidst other things. Less bullying from Jordan too. I've dreamt of this day and it's finally here. I also told my dad to promise me he would gift me his car, since he would no longer need it like he used to. I told him I go to school and I go to work, the car would make my life so much easier. I'd be 18 soon too, so he really had no excuse. He told me that's fine by him, and he said aside from the fact that I'd be 18, academically I've done really well, and he would be more than delighted to gift me his car. Although, he added a condition. What's up everybody, Mr. Redito here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. This story comes complete with 4 updates. Update number 1 actually did not come out for quite some time, but let's go ahead and jump into update 1 right now. It's been a while since I last updated about my family, my life, my mother's health, and my father and my stepbrother. Time hasn't been going too smooth for us, I'll say, as I got carried away trying to figure out the next step to take. My mom's condition did not get any better, and we're still counting months until Dad's retirement. That was the longest we had to wait. I even had to cut off my friends because I didn't want them to see how hard my life has become. I didn't want my mother's health to be a subject of discussion amongst kids. I had to keep her safe. I masked all my pain behind working at Walmart, and I tell them to give me the heaviest item to carry. I just want to go numb. I didn't want to feel any pain anymore. I noticed I was getting close to being depressed, but I told myself to never think about that. If I was depressed, who would be there for Mom? My stepbrother did not stop doing his part, as he's a perpetual money dropper when there was a need to buy medication. Just that, he would talk about how unlucky I and Mother are before he dropped that money on the table. The more severe my mother's health got, the higher the price of her medication. Jordan would say he had done his part, no extra money can come out of his pocket. I couldn't blame him, to be honest. His mother wasn't the one suffering, and if at all anything, he's felt the pain in the past. Jordan would smoke into the night, and I would threaten to tell Father about it, and he would threaten to stop dropping the money to take care of Mom. I mean, smoke wasn't entirely good for my mother's health, but we had to live with it. Jordan was on a mission to kill my mother. Because why would you be smoking under the same roof with someone suffering from a critical health condition? All of those were things I had to endure. I could not wait for Dad to retire because the paycheck from whatever military he was serving in wasn't serving us. We spent everything on my mother amidst sorting out bills too. I needed him to retire and just man up already. He needs to come home and work like a real man. Enough of a fighting for your country, come home and fight for your family. I cried with all these thoughts in my head. A part of me wanting to blame my father for putting us in this condition. All of these could have been avoided if only they did not try to have another child after me. Well, if only my dad did not want another child after me. My mother was pregnant about 5 years ago, and I would not stop getting jealous. Why did they want another child after having an amazing being like me? My mother suffered some complications due to the pregnancy, and well, the baby died the day it was delivered to this world. The complications my mother suffered during pregnancy, and the death of the baby and more complications she suffered after the birth, turned her into a hypertensive person. She suffered depression. She was getting better when it discovered that she was hypertensive. Everything was just too much to take in because I knew how it all started. My mother asked me if I wanted a younger sibling, and that was before she fell pregnant. I told her I was enough for her and my father, and she said that she had the same thought, but Dad wants another baby. She was a man pleaser. See that pleasing a man's cost her a life. If my mother should die today, I would never watch my father marry another woman. He wasn't sent to this world to butcher women. Only God knows what happened to his late wife and now my mother. I really tried hard not to blame my dad. I can see him struggling and trying to make sure his wife stays alive too. Also, he'd promised to gift me his vehicle. Who am I to get mad at someone I would be getting a car from for school? I just needed to hit 18 years old in a few months and the car would be mine. My joy knew no bounds. To be honest, the car was like a consolation prize for me. Anytime I think about the wickedness of this world, the world seems unfair, but I would be driving a car soon. Seems a part of the world was fair to me at least. The thought of owning a car makes me happy. I can now drive my mother out. I can allow her to take in natural breeze. I can bring her out of the four corners of our house. I really can't wait to be 18. I need to manifest all of this. Update number 2. I really need to do better with updating everyone on the latest development. I once talked about my father placing a condition on the car. He told me I've proven myself worthy based on my academics, and he was willing to release his car to me, but on one condition. Well, that condition was that I would pay off the remaining car loan, which was about $22,000. That's a lot of money. How does he expect me to raise that money in just a few months? I wasn't doing more than working at Walmart and also just a little bit online. Plus, he was aware of me spending my earnings on mother. Why would he ask me to pay that much money? Anyways, I was willing to take the risk. I just wanted the car. My paying off the loan, technically, I can claim ownership of the vehicle. Anyways, I paid part of the money's worth. I had the loan to worry about, and I had my mother to worry about too. I decided to quit school and just focus on work. The more hours I worked, the more I get paid was the rule. I was willing to put everything in the line to work my butt off. I didn't tell anyone about this decision. I just dropped out of school and I report to work every morning. I would wear my uniform out in the morning and get changed before I get to Walmart every day. I didn't want to worsen the situation with Mom. She would think she was the reason why I quit school. Well, she was, but I had other reasons too. I needed extra money, and working from morning till night at Walmart has really fetched me a reasonable amount of money, and I've started paying off that car loan. The money wasn't enough, but I had to sacrifice. I denied myself of major things so I can have my life sorted out. Well, aside from my jobs, I've tried a few other things. I tried working in a club despite being a minor. I obtained a fake identity card showing a fake age and the day I was showing up at the club. I applied excess makeup on my face, and I didn't think much of it in any of these, as I just thought I needed to survive. These were days I wish I looked older than my actual age, and I started working in the club, and nothing they did interested me. I guess I lost all my taste to sufferings. I made really good money just by working at night, and I would ask myself why I've not been serving drinks to people in a club all my life. The nights I stayed out, I would tell my mother I joined a night reading class, so it was easy to go out without suspicion. One thing I knew was I was losing my mind because I worked around the clock. Worked morning till evening at Walmart, then evening till dawn at the club, serving drinks to strangers. That's what I kept doing 24 hours around the clock. I convinced myself I only needed to hit a target, and after hitting the target, I would quit working at the club and maybe go back to school. I had no one monitoring me, so making these choices was easy. I would expect my father to notice that I've stopped calling him to ask for money like before. Maybe he did notice, but he decided not to speak on it. I was hoping he wouldn't ask me, and thanks to the universe for not making him ask, I was not ready to cook up another set of lies. I've been juggling my job for a few weeks now, and there's been no regret so far. I've made an unimaginable amount of money from the jobs combined. I'm doing well in the aspect of paying off the car loan, and I spent money on makeup now. I need to keep the disguise going. I just could not afford to have my cover blown at a time like this. My life was moving at a fast rate that I wasn't even thinking about the psychological effect on any of these might have on me. I just needed to make some money. Also, I never experienced harassment from men, and I've been working in the club for about 2 weeks now. This made me happy because no one would support me if I told them about being harassed. I would be blamed. What was a 17-year-old doing in a club anyways with a fake identity? I might even get arrested. I also tried to make sure I did not upset any of the customers. I was on my best behavior. I only needed to keep the disguise on what months I could be there. I was leaning on my 4th week at the club, and the day I spotted my stepbrother, Jordan, from afar. A cold shiver ran down my spine, and I prayed I wouldn't have to serve him that night. The universe was kind to me because someone else attended to him. I was extra careful that night. Who knows what he would have done if he had seen me? I might have to bury my mother now because Jordan would not care about anyone's feelings before he announced to the world. That was really the night I vowed to never go to that club again. What if I bump into that devil's incarnate the same day? I don't want to know what would happen to me. It's high time I started looking for another club. What's up everybody, Mr. Redito here. So this story is turning into a sad story, but it makes you wonder, what is OP going to do about this? Well, update number 3 came out 4 months after the second post. Let's go ahead and jump into update number 3, guys. I hope you're having a great day. If you're enjoying this story, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Here is update number 3. Wow. 4 months have passed since I last updated, and it's been a roller coaster of emotions for me. Things did not get better, it got worse. I hope a day would come I would come here and feed you all with interesting and exciting things about my life and sharing my pains. But for now, bear with me. These 4 months, I did not find another club as proposed. I stopped working in a club, and I moved on to other things. I added solving assignments for students to my online jobs. It was paying well because it was as if students didn't want to work. The workload of assignments I got since I started this job was massive. And I mean massive. And I made sure everyone paid before service. I was smart like that. My job at Walmart was still there, and if care was not taken, I would soon join the shareholders at Walmart. Not bad. Till date, nobody knew I dropped out of school. This only opened my eyes to the fact that nobody really cared about me enough to know or 2 things in my life. My mother would randomly ask me how I was faring in school. I would lie and tell her I was doing excellent. I didn't like the fact that I was lying to my mother, but I care about her. I really do, and I needed to lie to her. My father has a month left in the military before he removes his headdress and hangs it forever. I'm looking forward to that day because his retirement would mean it was exactly 2 weeks to my 18th birthday. My mom, on the other hand, was as good as death. She wasn't really responding to her medication anymore, and her body system probably developed a resistance to the drugs and they no longer work properly. I feel sorry for her every day. Cursed to be the day she fell pregnant, cursed to the day the baby died. She really did not deserve any of this pain. I noticed my stepbrother softened up to my mother a little bit. This new development scared me. Was he about to kill her? I wondered. Because you have to get closer to your enemy, right? My mother wasn't an enemy, but he was never liked her. So, what changed? Why did he start showing little care towards her? I got back from my job on this fateful evening and I met Jordan in my mother's room. He was helping her take her medication. This was the closest I've seen them, and seeing them like that was surprising yet amusing. I entered her room and I checked the content he was feeding her. For security, obviously. Maybe he was taking advantage of her vulnerability to feed her with poisonous drugs. I realized he was feeding her with the prescribed pills. I asked him why he was acting all nice and saint-like all of a sudden. My mother told me to keep quiet. She didn't have the strength to snap at me, and I respected it. I left the room just to stand by the doorstep, waiting for Jordan to step out. A few minutes later, he came out, and I asked him what the whole charade was for. Jordan told me I should better respect him as an older brother, or he'll help me do that. That was the first time he showed concern about being respected by me. I told Jordan I still needed to know why he was being nice to my mother all of a sudden. He said he felt sorry for her. Really, Jordan? I never knew he had the tendency of feeling sorry for somebody, not just anyone. Feeling sorry for my mother? Jordan further said he knew how much pain she was in and he wished he could take the pain away. He said although his mother's dead, she never went through this pain before she died. He said his mother slept and just simply never woke up. I found that intriguing. How's it possible for someone to sleep and not wake up? Should I be scared now? I might sleep and not wake up? My mother might sleep and not wake up? He noticed the fear in my eyes and he told me to calm down. He said although the cause of her death was unknown and there was no one to suspect since it was just the both of them at home, he further said after his mother's death, his dad, my father, would not stop going after anything in skirts. He said that annoyed him so much, and although his mom's death turned his dad into that kind of person, Jordan said the last straw that broke that camel's back was a young lady his father, my father, dated. He said the lady jilted him and stole everything his mom and dad had worked for. He said our father was a good-for-nothing man when he met my own mother, and he said my mother made him raise to his feet. Jordan said the issue with the lady that stole everything from them made him detest every lady his father got involved with. He said my mother came and changed his life. So, my mother does not deserve any of the treatment he gave her in the past, and I felt the pain through his words. We hugged. He promised to be a good big brother from then on. I wasn't going to believe him entirely. I couldn't. I told him I would appreciate that, although I planned to watch him from afar. Once a madman, always a madman. I refuse to be used by him, and I'll let go of my grudges against him after he's proven to be totally worth it. Things started going well, and still hid the fact that I dropped out from Jordan. Daddy was coming home soon, and he might change his mind after gifting me his car if he should find out about this news. I can't let that happen. It was a secret I could take to my grave at this point in my life. My mother, well, she started smiling more. I bet she thought she would sleep well if she died now. Hey guys, Mr. Reddito here. There's one final update, and it's update number 4. It's been months after my stepbrother reconciled with mother and my father finally had the military say goodbye. My father was moving back home. I was excited. He said he planned to open up a ranch. We all supported him as he needed to stay away from home, and he had his wife to take care of. He started planning towards opening this ranch, and it was looking feasible and promising. I was still paying the loan too, and I had a few months to go. Well, my family of 4 became complete again, and all I walked on was eggshells, since I have a major secret to keep from everybody. My birthday came, and for the first time in years, we all celebrated my birthday together. I knew I was meant to bring peace and unity to this world. I bought cake and brought it home. We had fun in our own little way. We didn't have much, and I wasn't expecting much. There, I reminded my father of his promise. He told me that he hasn't forgotten. Weeks passed after my birthday. Months passed, and I did not stop disturbing my dad about the car. I told him to hand the keys and other necessary documents over. I'm already here, and since I paid the loan to a reasonable amount already, logically speaking, I was fit to take ownership of the car. My father just kept postponing. I mean, what was so hard in handing keys and documents over to someone that had just postponed? He dumped a loan of $22,000 on me, and now he was chickening out? I wouldn't allow him to do it. No one except my father and I knew the condition placed on the car. It was a mutual agreement between the both of us. I'll pay off the loan, and he would give me the car. How is that so difficult to understand? Now that I was almost done paying the loan, this car loan was one I took up different jobs to be able to pay for after all. Why is everything changing now? Well, I woke up with muscle pain and aches all over my body. I knew I wouldn't be able to make it to work that day, meaning no money for me. Well, resting in for just a day would not hurt, right? I was in the ranch my father was building when I saw the familiar car pull up in front of our house. It was my father's car. I mailed myself thinking he's finally ready to fulfill his part of the agreement, just for me to see Jordan come down from the car. He walked up to him and asked for the keys. He looked at me like I was speaking some language he did not understand, and I asked if he did not drive the car home to hand it over to me. He said no, he owns the car. Just how? This car belongs to our father. How are you the owner? Also, this car was projected to be mine by now. Jordan said, I've started one of my mini dramas, and he left me standing. Well, as you can guess, at this time I start to grow impatient as I waited for my father to come back from the market he went to. I could not sit in a place. I was totally disturbed. The moment I sighted him, I walked up to him and talked to him about the car. He just shrugged me off. Was he trying to play pranks on his 18-year-old daughter who single-handedly paid for the car loan? Well, I don't know. I kept on talking. I wouldn't allow him to breathe. You told me this car would be mine if I could pay the loan. Did you use me? My father said my brother needed the car more and he's given it to him. How? I paid for the car. How did it need it more when I paid for the vehicle? He told me to keep quiet and not talk back to him. Out of annoyance, I told him Jordan said he got jilted by a lady. How are we sure he wasn't even the one who planned with the lady? He looked at me with bloodshots in his eyes. I knew he felt like slapping me, but he controlled himself. I started shouting, and I was ready to pull the whole house apart. I didn't care I had a sick mother. This was my life, too. I risked my life to get this car paid for. How dare anyone cheat me of it? I told everyone the deal I made with my father months back and how he was going back on his promise after making me pay for the entire car. I told my mom to take heart and not faint as I'm about to reveal this to everybody. I told the whole house I dropped out of school to work in a club. I did it all to get that car loan paid for. Everyone was shocked at this revelation. Jordan stood up. He moved closer to me. He said he promised me he would be a good big brother to me, but he didn't know all of these were attached to the car. He said he had a few dirts for our father, and he threatened him with those secrets of his. That was the only reason he gave the car to him, to shut him up. The only person I pitied in all this was my sick mother, after finding out my brother blackmailed our father for the car. What if all these leads to her death? I wouldn't forgive anyone. He said a few weeks after my father got back from the military, he caught him moving around with a particular lady. He said he also saw papers indicating his involvement in gambling and other illegal activities. Jordan said he threatened to tell the whole family about all of these secrets, and he gave him the car in return for his silence. I wanted to forgive my stepbrother, but it was hard for me. I was already trying to warm up to him, but this? He saw something he should have spoken out about, but decided to blackmail and collect the car in return. I hate him for doing that. What if something happens to my mother and the lady jilts us too? I decided I've done things above my knowledge already, and I needed to take it a step further. I decided to move out. I left the house. I knew my mother would not follow me since she had no power to stop me, but I vowed to always come and check on her. And every time, and also, get her out of this devil's house. Tessa, aka the OP of this story, might be one of the hardest working characters that we've read in these stories. I just kept feeling so terrible. Her mother's deathly ill, basically on her deathbed, and she has to deal with this step-sibling who's an absolute monster. He holds his own father for blackmail and ends up stealing the car, basically. When he found out, though, the entire ordeal of it, he was still kind of a jerk. Guys, I just have one question for you. If you were Tessa and you were in her position, could you ever forgive your step-sibling for doing what he did in this story? Let me know your thoughts about this. And also, in my opinion, I don't think the father was a nice guy at all. I know he was in the military and he probably was really busy, but it seemed like he just didn't give a crap about his family. Let me know your thoughts though, guys. If you don't agree with me, that's totally cool. Let's talk about it in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. If you're new to the channel, I narrate stories every single day. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, if you liked the story today, smash that like button, guys. Thank you so much. I hope to see you tomorrow, and I hope you have a wonderful day.